Today I'm going to show you how to draw a paintbrush through observation. So what it means to draw something through observation, it means you're looking at something in real life, a still life, and you're drawing it from what you see, the way that you see it. Okay, so I'm going to work one paintbrush at a time, and how I'm going to draw each paintbrush, first of all, I'm going to look at the paintbrush I'm drawing, and I'm going to gauge how big it is because I want to draw this realistically. So I'm going to see how big it is. You can use something like the size of your hand. I see here that the paintbrush is about maybe an inch bigger, taller than my hand is. About an inch taller than my hand. So I can come here and kind of use that to gauge where the top and bottom of my brush should start just by making two little light dashes like this. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start to draw is really lightly because you want to be able to erase any mistakes, like a secret that nobody knows about. So I'm going to start with drawing the handle, work my way up to the bristles, but I'm only going to do the general shapes and lines. So starting here with the handle, I see that this handle is wider here and thinner up here, and it has a curved top. So I'm kind of using right here my mark that I first made. I'm kind of using those general shapes and lines to plan out my handle. Okay, and then I notice here it starts to widen back up again where it meets the metal. Okay, you can even use your pencil to see how long. So I can see here that my handle is just ever so slightly shorter than my pencil is. So I can use that to kind of gauge where my handle should start and stop. You can also use a finger to do this or go back to your full hand. Okay, I also notice there's a circle here where the hole of the paintbrush is. And in this stage, this is when you can start to kind of, erase and fix any kind of issues that you already see. Like I can already tell right here that the distance here is a little too wide. In real life, this is a pretty thin part of my handle. So I'm going to really lightly bring it in a bit. During this stage. So notice how sketchy it kind of is right now. The next thing I'm going to draw is the metal part of my paintbrush, which is really just a square. This one is a square. Sometimes you'll see paintbrush has more of a triangular shape. Sometimes it's more of a rectangular shape. Okay, so it really just kind of depends on what paintbrush you have. This one's more of a square. So I'm going to mark out where my square is going to be. Okay, and then I'm going to look at my bristles. So there's kind of three parts to the paintbrush: the handle, the metal, and the bristles. Okay, so the bristles are a longer rectangle, a lot longer than the metal piece. It's almost about 2 inches. If I were to use my finger here, it goes from my nail to my knuckle. So I can kind of use that as a gauge too. And I know that my original mark was about right here. So I know that my bristles come down from the metal to about right here and across. Okay. Once you have the general shapes and lines of your brush, you can now start to go in and start adding in a little bit of detail and refining things. So when I think detail, I think erasing the parts that I don't want. So here where I brought my handle in thinner, I'm going to start erasing some of these sketchy lines that I drew really lightly. Notice how I can erase it and have no issues because I drew it so light. Okay, so I'm going in, refining my edge. Finding this edge here too. And I start to look at details like the lines that are in the metal. It also has, I'll zoom in here for you guys, has lines here in the metal. It also has some numbers to say how big the paintbrush is, has some diagonal lines here. I also see paint splatters. I see a lot of paint splatters. I see some letters and numbers here underneath the paint splatter. I can see paint splatters in the bristles here on the tip and to the left here. So I want to draw all of that in my painting or my drawing so that it can look as realistic as possible. So this is where I start to add details like that. So I can add details like the lines here going across and here And here, I can add, this part here comes up a little bit before it comes in. I'm noticing that now, so I'm going to fix it. Once I notice it, I want to fix it. Okay, I can do the letters, 1.5 inches. And then some diagonal lines. Going this way. Okay, I'm looking at the paint splatter. There's a lot of paint splatter on this one. I think this might come up a little bit more here. So then I got to erase my original part of my handle. Okay, paint splatter, this light tan color I'm going to do next. So that kind of comes up and around my circle and down. It's kind of a wiggly line, very organic shape. It comes all the way down to that metal part. I'm trying to stay pretty consistent to the shape of this splatter. Comes up and around, comes off the edge of the handle there. Disappears here a little bit in the middle so that I can write the letters that are here, numbers. And each paintbrush is going to be different and unique. Okay, now I can look at the bristles. Bristles are going to be just kind of imply some lines where the bristles are going to be at. I don't want these to get crazy lines, but you're never going to be able to actually draw all of those lines, okay? And then I want to show where the white paint here dried up on this brush. About right there is where it dried up. And some dried up paint here on the left-hand side. So I'm kind of blocking out shapes for those. Now I'm looking at the rust that's on this paintbrush. I'm going to draw the shape of some of these rust spots. Okay. I'm still drawing really lightly. I'm not drawing any of these really hard. I could erase this whole thing if I wanted to. And there I have my paintbrush. So then I would go on to my next paintbrushes that are at my table, whichever paintbrushes that may be. They're all unique, and draw all 6 brushes.